Hello everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another cross-stitching update video. In this video, my little theme for the week is just stitching what I want, and part of it is like I couldn't really think of like a very good theme. I have a list of things written down, but I wasn't really feeling any of those things that I had written down, and then I was like, just stitch what you want for this week. I already have my first project picked out, and then once I am ready to switch, then I will just pick whatever I am feeling like stitching in that moment. Plus, this week I will also be getting ready for some new starts that are going to happen next week. So my birthday is July 17th, and I decided that I wanted to have a couple new starts. And so I need to look through my charts and try and decide what exactly I want to start and make sure I have fabric and everything ready for my new starts. So I'm gonna quickly, I think, talk about a couple of the things that I'm thinking about starting. So I have a folder on my phone in my gallery, and it's literally called Charts Not Started. So it's all the charts that I've purchased and not started. And so I think I have a couple ideas of things I might want to start. I kind of would like to start one of the unconventional X-stitch pieces that I just recently purchased. I have Flowers Rabbit, which I will insert the artwork for that. Or I have a Chrysabug pattern. I think it was called Cat Cafe, and it's a mini, so it's small. It's not a huge full coverage. And then I also got a stocking that I think is called Merry and Bright from Unconventional X-stitch. So I have those three that I kind of would like to start. But then I was also thinking about possibly starting something that is older, which I have a previous stitch along from Heaven and Earth Designs. That was from like 2014 or 2015, somewhere around there. And it was a Randall Spangler. And so I think it was called Literate Dragon. And there is a bigger piece of artwork on the Haid website of this piece, but this was just like a little cropped version of that chart, and it's really cute. It's a dragon and he's reading a book. I love books, and I think it was only about 20,000 stitches, so kind of small, on the small side of things. So I have those full coverages that I'm thinking about, but then I also have some other things that I purchased recently that I'm thinking about. I had to go and get them so that I could show them. I have this Autumn Lane Stitchery, the Jolly Trio that I had purchased in Las Vegas. So there are 3 little Christmas ornaments. They're not really showing very good because they're still in the plastic, but yeah, there's 3 little ornaments. I don't think they would take very long to stitch, and I'm pretty sure I also got fabric for these. I also have the Stitch Crypt, Feral and Spooky, which this is a possibility too. And then this is one that I've had sitting on my shelf for a few years, and it is Hobbit House from Cottage Garden Sampling. So I have quite a few things that I could possibly start. I'm not sure exactly what I want to start yet. So I think I'm going to go through and, pull out fabrics and just see what's calling to me the most. I could start my link pattern from makeitpink.net, but like I think I'm saving that one for when the new Zelda game comes out, which I think it's coming out in the fall. I think like October, November. I'm pretty sure I looked it up after one of my videos and saw that it's supposed to be in like November. Anyways, I need to get to stitching. I will be working on Dark Cinderella first. That's my first project because I was working on it last week and I was really enjoying working on it, and so I want to keep going because I like the area that I'm in now. The colors are very pretty. Dark Cinderella is artwork by Barrett Biggers and charted by Pain Free Crafts, and this is the area that I'm working on in. So I am getting to like all these blues that are in the middle of the top row, and I love it. Like there's some brighter blues up here, and so I want to just keep working on this blue section. So that's going to be the first piece that I work on for my little stitching what I want this week, and this is on a 32 count fabric, 1/1/2 cross. And yeah, so I'm going to get to stitching, and I will be back once I am ready to switch projects. I am back and I am ready to switch projects. So I did 1,000 stitches on Dark Cinderella, and you can kind of see that I was starting to get to the moon right here which was exciting to be into more like blues and fun colors instead of like just like all the dark colors that were over here. But yeah, I am loving this project. I almost wanted to keep it out another day. I have already worked on it for 2 days. I worked on it Monday and Tuesday, and today is currently Wednesday, but I did decide I would switch projects. So this is my stopping point. I love this though. Love everything about it. And so I will try and insert like where I was before just so you can kind of see the progress a little bit better, because I know that 1000 stitches can be kind of hard to see in these projects that are so big. So I will try and have inserted all the pictures and everything, but now I will show you my next project, which I am going to be working on Drinks on the Beach. So I will grab my fabric and show you my starting point on Drinks on the Beach. So here is Drinks on the Beach, which is artwork by Lars Stewart and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It was the stitch along from last year, so 2025, and I am still not done with it, but I really want to work on it because I love the colors and it's really a fun summer piece. And this is also on a 32 count 1/1, but on this one I am using CXC floss. So I will be working on Drinks on the Beach, most likely for 2 days. So I'll work on it today, Wednesday, I'll work on it Thursday, and then switch projects again on Friday. And I think on Friday I will most likely be switching to Rose Library just because I do love that piece a lot. I think that for Drinks on the Beach, I will work more in this area. This is where I was working the last time I worked on it, which is just this drink here, which it kind of sucks because this piece has a lot of bright colors, but this drink has a lot of really light colors. So that's not always fun to stitch, but I will try and get a picture of this area so I can show you like my before and after when I'm done stitching. It is now Friday morning and I am ready to switch projects. I did 1000 stitches on Drinks on the Beach and I was working mostly in this light area here with this drink. I also did some of the orange and the seahorse, and then I was also working on this pink color here on the drink. And yeah, it was like, I think maybe 1200 stitches that I did. I did most of the stitches yesterday. I think yesterday I was able to do like 800 stitches, which was a great stitching day for me. And I'm gonna switch projects now. So the next project I want to work on is Rose Library. I will insert a picture of the artwork, and that chart is by Ivy Dollamore and charted by Unconventional X Stitch. And here is my starting point. I think I'm going to keep working in the window just because it's not the funnest area to stitch, so I need to just keep chipping away at that area. And I also might do some of like the leaves going down on this section. So I'm going to be focusing in this area, and I will technically have 3 days. So today is Friday, it is still early in the afternoon, and then I'll have Saturday and then Sunday, but tomorrow will most likely be a either no stitching day or a low stitching day because I am going to be seeing family. So I'm not sure what I'll get done. And this one is on a 25 count 2/1 half cross. So I will be back once I have done my stitching on Rose Library. And yeah, I love the way that this one looks. It is now Monday and I am back with my final update, which is on Rose Library. And I know it was over 1000 stitches. I just don't know exactly how many it was. And the stitches on this one might be kind of hard to see because there were a lot of light colors. So I did a lot in this window on this color here. And then also there's a color on this side here, but it's like 3856, which is basically white. So kind of hard to see some of it, but I am really enjoying this piece so much. This is my first piece from Unconventional X Stitch, and so I'm so excited that for my birthday I will be starting another Unconventional X Stitch piece, which I couldn't decide which piece I would want to start. And so in my last video I actually just asked which one between Cat Cafe and what's the other one? Flowers Rabbit. So I will be starting one of those pieces. Right now, I think Cat Cafe has the most comments. I need to check again, but yeah, right now Cat Cafe is winning. They were actually really close for like the first day, and I was like, this isn't helpful if they end up almost tying. And so I think I'll be starting Cat Cafe for my birthday. And I'm also going to have a couple of other things that I start, so I'll talk about that more like in my video for this next week coming up. But I was just going to talk about fabrics real quick. So for Cat Cafe, I ended up actually ordering a piece of 25 count easy count because that is my like favorite, I think, count right now. Sometimes I use 28 count. That's what I used originally, like when I first started doing tent stitch. I was just getting 28 count. But I have recently started using the 25 count, and I just like that it doesn't get as thick as the 28 count when you're doing 2/1 tent stitch. And so I got a piece for Cat Cafe because I looked through my stash and I did not have any of the 25 count with the grids, so I really wanted the gridded fabric for that one. And then for Flowers Rabbit, I was going back and forth on fabrics. And so my thing with Flowers Rabbit is you don't actually stitch the outer border of that piece. So any area that looks like it's like a white background and like the corners isn't stitched. And so I knew I wanted to do it on a colorful fabric because of the fact that there are a lot of light colors in the dress, and I didn't want to be stitching light colors on light fabric. And I also knew I wanted it to be like a 16 or 18 count because I was going to do full cross because the outer edge isn't stitched, so I wanted it to be kind of like a neater edge than you would get with tent stitch. And so I ended up deciding I would dye fabric, which I haven't dyed fabric in a while. And then I couldn't decide what color because I didn't want to do a color that's in the chart a lot. So like there's quite a bit of purples and blues. So I didn't want to use a purple or blue fabric because then you would kind of have the problem of like when you stitch white on white where you can't see the stitches because they blend in with the fabric. And so I ended up doing a thing where you can like remove the background edges of the piece of Flowers Rabbit, and then I put it into like a photo editor thing and then was just changing the background. And I kind of came up with an idea of what I wanted because I was going back and forth between like kind of yellows or red pinky colors, and I decided I wanted to do a fade going from kind of like a yellowy orangey to like a pinky red color. And so I went to the store and I got some Rit dye. I think it was lemon yellow and cherry red. It was literally all my store had in those colors, so I was like, I guess we're gonna make it work. And so I decided to dye my fabric half and half. And the way that I did it is I have the sink with like the two sides. So I had one side with the yellow, one side with the red, and then I was just kind of going back and forth with the fabric. And I did that, and I didn't really love the result because it was really just like half and half. Even when I was kind of moving the fabric back and forth, I wasn't getting like a nice blend in the middle. And so then after it dried, I decided to dye it again. And what I did the second time is I did the same method of like one sink had yellow, or not in the sink, I had a tub in the sink, and then I had a tub in the other sink with the red. And what I did is I actually took a small amount of my red once it was mixed up, like a tiny amount, and put it into the yellow to get kind of like a little bit of that tone into the yellow. And then I was going like back and forth. I had one hand that was for each of the colors because I didn't want to accidentally touch the yellow side with my red hand. So I had one hand in each of the dye bins, kind of moving the fabric back and forth because I was trying to get like a gradual line of the dye, like moving up the fabric. And then what I was doing as I did that is because I wanted it to be kind of like darker at the bottom and then get like lighter as it went up, is I was actually adding more water to the red side as I would put more fabric in. And so it was lightening the dye in the red side. So I was kind of getting like a lighter color as I would move more of the fabric into the red side. And then I would also take a little bit more of the red dye and then put it into my yellow. And then I would kind of put more fabric from the middle section into the yellow to kind of move the line up and also kind of get more of like a contrast and more gradients to the colors by like moving some dye around, you know, dyes from each side. Anyways, enough talking about the fabric. Here is the fabric. I love it. So I'm gonna say that. I like kind of like bright fabrics, and I also feel like this will be great for Flowers Rabbit because you get like a fun background. So we have the yellow. It's not showing up great right now. It's kind of like, there we go. So it's got like a orangey color to it. It kind of almost reminds me of like an orange sherbet or something, ice cream. And then it goes to like this graduated like pinky orangey color. And then at the bottom, it does get quite a bit darker. But like I said, I feel like the sun's out right now, so I feel like it's kind of not accurately showing the fabric, but I am in love with it. And I also feel like the colors of the fabric aren't really matching the colors of the piece to where they'll blend in, because that's what I was trying to avoid. Like I said, is like, I originally was like purple. I love purple fabrics. And so I was like purple, and then I was like, but there's so many purple flowers that I feel like stitching purple on purple would just be a bad idea. So I have this fabric, and so that means I'm definitely going to be starting Flower Rabbit at some point this year probably, because I am in love with the fabric and the colors of it, and so I want to stitch on it. So, you know, it's gonna be started eventually. But yeah, it's looking like Cat Cafe will be started first. Plus, like I said, there's a couple other things that I will be starting in this week coming up. So that is it for cross stitch. In terms of books, I did read The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand, and I think Shelby Cunningham is her last name, and it was really good. It was different from what I normally read, but it was like a nice break from fantasy, because I read a lot of fantasy. And it was about like some kids that are at this boarding school that gets ranked like higher than they've normally been ranked, and you know, some drama ends up happening. It's a boarding school. You've got a bunch of teenagers living together, and some of the teachers were acting like teenagers. It was a good book though. I really enjoyed it. And then there's also kind of like a mystery that is still going on at the end of book 1, and so I really want to know about, there's an email, and I want to know about this email. And I actually have the second book, The Thoroughbreds, which isn't out yet because I think it comes out in September, and I got it from NetGalley, which is a website where you can request books to read before they come out and then review them. So I will be starting The Thoroughbreds, and I cannot wait to see what happens next in that book, because yeah, like, people were acting kind of crazy. And that was it for books though. I think that I've actually finished. I am currently reading some other ones because I have a lot going on. Which just makes me think of the Taylor Swift shirt. I've got not a lot going on or whatever. And the last thing that I will mention real quick, just because I thought of it, is the sweater I am wearing. So in the last video, I had a couple questions about that sweater, which that top was the Witchling by Dragon Horde Designs, I'm pretty sure. And the one that I am wearing right now, because I am trying to wear more of my knit tops, is this is the Nordiska, which is by Caitlin Hunter. I changed mine though, so I think it originally has like a longer sleeve, and I did a shorter sleeve just because I wear shorter sleeves more than long sleeves, I feel like. And then I also did not do the color work at the bottom, so I will try and like stand up. So I'm wearing short, so here is mine. I did not do the color work, and I just kind of ended it. And then I did a tighter rib at the bottom, so it kind of, you know, sits nicely when I wear like a high-waisted shorts. So that is my Nordiska, and I love this. It was my first time doing cables. There are cables here, and I love it. It took a long time though for me to make because it was my first time doing cables. I was really like fidgety with them. I was always worried about dropping the stitches. And the yarn that I used is, I think, discontinued. I feel like I bought quite a few yarns back in like the 2020, 2021 time that were from dyers who aren't around anymore. Like, it was a lot of like smaller dyers, because I think the yarn I used for the Witchling is also discontinued. I think it was actually from the same person. And so yeah, that's the one thing that kind of is sad when you buy yarn from like smaller people, is that a lot of them aren't really around anymore, and they made some really great yarns, so that's always sad to lose a yarn dyer. Anyways, that is all for this video. I will be back next week where I will be starting some things, Cat Cafe, a few other things possibly, and I hope to see you all then. Bye!